This information you are about to hear and perhaps view, these are not necessarily the thoughts or the ideas of Gary C.Clement or the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the parties this story is about or was interviewed for. Parts of this content may not be owned by or the property of the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, G2 Network Media, or any other company we are affiliated with, and this information is strictly the opinion of those being interviewed. This content is for information purposes only, and although we may make reference to various news stories, we share our own independent beliefs about the content and provide our own opinions. Please enjoy the information. Hi, this is Gary C. Clement, and welcome to the Gary Clement Radio Show and Podcast. Back in the day, I had an opportunity to work on a lot of records, do a lot of interviews, take a lot of pictures with all kinds of artists and entertainers, and I had an opportunity to meet an incredible gentleman, Mr. A.J. Savage, who was urban promotions person for quite a few different labels over the years. Because of this man, I've had the opportunity to work with people such as Vanessa Williams, Alicia Keys, Ruben Studdard, Janet Jackson, Jaheim, and so many others over the years. Anyway, he's here today to talk about his life, his career, and what's coming next. How are you, sir?
Oh, man, I'm great. I'm happy to be here, blessed and grateful.
Great. Okay. So first of all, just tell us again the labels that you used to work with back in the day. Tell us some of those, please.
Okay. I'm going to just take you through the journey really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Before record labels, there was a A.J. Savage before that, before I got to record labels. I was a radio personality and a radio programmer, broadcaster. I worked in radio for from college all the way through to 91. And that's when I segued into the record business. But I had an organization while I was in radio that supported the record industry. It was the South Carolina Record Pool. I don't know if you're familiar with record pools. You probably are, Gary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I established the first record pool in South Carolina back in '88. South Carolina Record Pool, and we serviced DJs with all the music that they needed, opposed to having to go to the record store and buy the singles and the 12 inches. The record companies would service my company, and I would service the DJs that belonged to my organization. And from that was my real taste of the record business prior to, DJing in the clubs, internships. My first internship in the record business was working with Sugar Hill Records back in '78. I was a freshman in college, man, and got an opportunity to be an intern, a paid intern at Sugar Hill Records, and worked on the records, Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5, worked on their records, Birthday, worked on Rapper's Delight, worked on a few other records of theirs, man, worked on a couple of their big hits. Sequence with them, and had the opportunity to learn something about the record business through those people. And those are legends.
Yeah, Miss Sylvia Robertson.
Yes, that's right. I worked with the Robinsons for a couple of years, and still completed my worked on my undergrad. But moving fast forward now, the labels that I worked for after I left the radio industry, my first record label was A&M. That was the first powerhouse major label that I worked with. Artist over there was Mint Condition, Barry White, C.C. Peniston, Janet, Low Key, and some great executives that I had the opportunity to work with there. Then it went to it moved to Perspective Records, which I'm sure you know, Perspective Records.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
That's it. Those guys are family to me to this day. So, and then from there, I spent about 4 years with them at Perspective, and then I was offered an opportunity at Virgin, and that was the Richard Branson label. So I went there, worked with Janet Jackson. Janet worked with Rap-A-Lot Records, which Jay Prince, the owner of Jay Prince, seems to be in the news a lot these days. And worked with Tina Turner there, few other artists, Scarface, Ghetto Boys, Quindon was an artist over there. Few other artists that were at that label that we were able to break. But Janet Jackson, Velvet Rope was the big opportunity. We worked a lot of artists over there, but the big opportunity, of course, was the big dog, Janet Jackson, Velvet Rope. And I'm sure you remember that album.
Yes, sir. I really do.
Well, we delivered that album. We did 5 million on that album. So that was a great feat being there. The funniest thing that happened to me over there was with Tina Turner. Tina Turner's album. We released that album, which was The Beautiful One. And she got the, I don't know if you remember this, she got the Hanes commercial, Hanes stockings.
Wow.
And she had a big, huge campaign. She toured, we gave away stockings, pantyhose. I mean, we were giving away pantyhose to every woman that we knew at radio. We had thousands of pantyhose, Hanes pantyhose to give away.
Wow.
You know, back in the day, radio stations was always giving away things from artists, shopkeepers. Well, Hanes gave us thousands of pantyhose and stockings that were signatured by Tina Turner.
Cool.
And she toured. She did New York City. The record did pretty well for us. And from there, from Virgin, my journey continued to Warner Brothers. And I took a senior executive job there. I was a vice president of urban music at Warner.
Cool.
And some of the artists over there, the big artist over there for me was Jaheim.
Okay.
Jaheim became, the big star basically for us.
Right.
But it afforded me an opportunity to work with some great executives, along with, taking a project like that was basically from ground zero.
I see. Okay.
And you see where he's at today.
Right. Okay. So let me break in here for a second.
Okay. Yeah. Come on. Jump in.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, in working with all these different labels and whatnot, like you said, again, you created relationships. Tell me the power of relationships over the years and whatnot in your life and working as part of the industry.
Relationships are key. They're paramount. They're the biggest thing that you can do. That should be your focus. Anyone getting into any business, not just the record business, but the radio record business, it's very important because you rely on people to do things or talk about it. Just like in your case, you and I have had a relationship for many years.
Yeah.
If I would have burned a bridge with you back during that time that I had all these great artists, you wouldn't want to be talking to me today.
Right. Absolutely.
So relationships are key. Always think relationship first, not what the person can do for you. Think about the relationship because these people, you never know where you're going to need them. You don't know where people are going to end up job-wise and opportunity-wise. So yes, my career has been based on relationships. And that's how I was able to have so many opportunities because of the relationships.
Right. Okay. So now when you look at the industry today, like you said, everything has changed. We are in a digital domain now. Like you said, you were talking about, freebies and giveaways and stuff with radio stations. I remember LaFace Records used to just send cases and cases of, CDs for promotion and stuff. Who does anything like that now? Do you like the changes and stuff now to the industry compared to how it used to be?
I do like the changes. Some things I like, some things I don't. But I prefer the changes because changes brings on evolution and growth. The record business could not stay in the same state that it was in 10 years ago or 20 years ago. It just could not be the same because everything has changed. You don't even have CDs in cars anymore.
Right.
CD players. You don't even have them in cars anymore. It's a rarity, or it has to be a special request, and it's going to cost you about $5,000 to have a CD player in a car.
Right.
In a new car to do it. You go get a new car. They don't even now. They probably have eliminated them completely. So in the newer cars, because they're basically all digital, and you're dealing with everything is Bluetooth.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
you don't probably have new cars now with CD players at all in them. And getting back to what your question was, though, the changes that have come on, it allows artists to be more independent than they were 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It creates more opportunity for people that want to just put music out. You don't have to have a major label behind you, whereas back in the day, you had to have a major label to put your records out,
Mm-hmm.
or you had to have a lot of money to put records out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the narrative for me is basically now anyone that's making music, anyone that's an artist, anyone that's a musician, they can put their music out on their own. They can put their music out on Spotify, all the DSPs. They can put the music out at CD Baby. They can put it out at TuneCore. And you don't have to have this big machine to market your music. You can market your music yourself. You can go out there and set up a promo tour for yourself. So in that respect, yes, it's in a better state financially, as in any venue, any industry, baseball, NBA, pro sports. The players back in the 90s and 80s, some of those guys that are passed on, they probably turn it over in their graves
Mm-hmm.
when you hear the amount of money that these athletes are making today. So it's either you're way up high with the salary or you're way down below.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that same tier set up in the record business. You're either a big star making lots of money, or you're down on the lower tier or the middle tier, and you're just making enough money to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, back in the golden days of what you might call it, if you didn't have a record deal, you basically was out there. You were poor.
Right. Mm-hmm. I hear you. Okay.
And in some cases, you had a record deal and you were still poor because you were spending your money thinking that you're going to be this big star forever.
Right.
And in times that heat runs out.
Mm-hmm.
As an artist, you can be hot today and cold tomorrow. Yes, I like the state of the industry now. Do I necessarily like the way people treat relationships today?
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly.
Right. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I was going to also ask you too, when you look at your artists today, like you said, whom have their own independent companies and are making a lot of money, in your opinion, are they making good business decisions that will, like you said, take them, from now, maybe for the next 20 years, be able to live off of, the product that they currently have?
Um, well, when you look at the big picture of that, in terms of the independent artists running a small company, yes, they can be successful by running a small independent company.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, again, it goes back to, have they facilitated relationships?
Right. Yeah.
Do they have good relationships that they can call and say, hey, can you help me get to this next level? Because in every case, it's always the next level, no matter what it is. You can start your business here, but then you're going to need those individuals to come in to help you propel to that next level.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's like we see artists, we see managers, athletes, artists. They may start out with a manager that got them up and running. They got them to record, started making records, putting their music up on all the DSPs. Now, the next step for them would be commercial radio.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have to have relationships with those people, whether they have relationships with the radio stations or they have relationships with people like myself that are radio marketing executives.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So would you? All right. So See, for instance, like today, I know that your business practice, everything that you do is probably a lot different than it used to be, years ago when you worked for a lot of the majors. Okay. Um, do you get independent artists to come to you and say, AJ, we're looking for someone to basically help us get our music on something like Foxy or like 97.5 or such as, can you do that? And what will that cost us? Do you get those questions or what exactly?
I get those questions all the time, and I get those clients. I get those clients all the time. I have several clients that I work with are independent. Several major artists. Example, Charlie Wilson, independent. Alicia Keys, independent. Kenny Lattimore, independent. Tamar Braxton, independent. Babyface, independent. That's just to name a few. I'm working with a new artist now. She's Nigerian, Ira Star. And you can Google her or find her on Instagram. She's Nigerian, as we know that this genre is really getting a foothold in the States. It's been big in Europe and, of course, Africa for years. It's starting to really take form here in the States. They are independent, and they have to call companies like mine to facilitate their radio promotion and artist development.
Cool.
See, what the major label does is they do help with artist development. We sit and sometimes say that artists are not getting artist development like they used to. No, they're not getting it like it was when Berry Gordy and, your major labels taking an artist and totally developed them. Even in 2000, 99, in the 90s, we still were developing artists. Like I said, Jaheim, when I was at Warner Brothers, was an artist development project for me. I took him from the streets to the boardroom.
Okay.
With artist development, media training. That's crucial. Media training is very, very crucial. So we kind of do artist development a different way now. We do artist development today with hands-on. We're putting them on the road, sending them to radio, sending them to interview with internet radio stations, sending them to larger market radio stations. But by the time they get to the major market radio stations, they've done 20 or 30 interviews. So now they're comfortable. They're comfortable talking about themselves. They're confident talking about what they're doing, where they are. They talk about the bullet points. They know the bullet points that they have to talk about when they get on the air with a radio personality. So that's all media training. That's all artist development, marketing plan. Then I always say that, we do this two ways. We don't just go to radio and get your record on the radio. We need everything. We need artist development as well. And that's a fee to do that.
I see. Gotcha. Okay. Now, a couple of days ago, you were talking about a new artist, and it may have been your Nigerian artist, but you were telling me that she was part of the Dreamville tour. Tell me about your experiences there.
Yeah, Ira.
Oh, okay. So
Ira Star.
Oh, okay, cool, cool, great. Okay, so you can tell me a little bit more about her, and I guess tell the audience and stuff about some of her new music coming out. Whatever you would like to share about her, please.
Well, I first say that you should go on Instagram and take a look at her Instagram page. She's 3 million followers. She's 20 years old. She's absolutely gorgeous. She has a great voice. And she's young. She's kind of like I would say maybe like a young Ashanti. When Ashanti was young and she first started, going out performing, doing shows, she's kind of like an Ashanti, but she's Nigerian. And Nigerian, we know how soulful they are. Nigerians are soulful. They move. They dance. They're just very, very soulful. And as I said, she has a great voice. Her music is out there now. We have a few songs out on radio that's getting airplay. We've got a top 14 single with her and Kelly Rowland. It's called Bloody Samaritan. It's doing really well. It's over 10 million streams. And we are, we're embarking on a top 10 record with her right now. We've been at radio 19 weeks.
Wow.
And we're doing well. To be around 19 weeks, brand new artist. And radio is starting to really see that this girl is happening. There's no question about that. Cool. She is happening. So she performed at Dreamville this weekend. She did a great job. People liked her. It was great to have her out there so people could see her. The fans that are already, checking for her, they got a chance to see her perform and hear her music. So that was a blessing. It's definitely a blessing. And she's also doing, what were you about to say?
No, go ahead. You can talk.
Oh, she's also doing Coachella. And she's doing something in the water, Pharrell's festival.
Right.
So she's doing festivals here in the state. Okay. She's doing festivals here. And, I urge people to go out and see her and, go to these festivals and watch these artists and hear the new music and stream the music, stream the music, download the music any way possible. Get your hands on it. It's great new music that's being put out.
I see. Okay.
So I'm really excited about her. Very, very excited about her.
Very good.
But some of the other projects that I'm working on right now currently would be Danny Boy. Danny Boy is the singer-songwriter that used to write and sing all the hooks for Death Row. Mm-hmm. So he was on all the Tupac songs. He's on the Dre songs. He's on the Snoop songs. He was their voice. He was the singer that sang the hooks. He has a new single out there that's doing really well. We're sitting at 13 with his single. Just released this week a new Stokely from Mint Condition. Just released that this week. So I'm absolutely working. I'm doing as many artists as possible, helping them get their music exposed and getting them out there on the road to do shows and coming to all of the cities. These artists are moving around. COVID kind of, put a dampener on things for artists traveling and doing shows and the public. But now things are opened up and, go support these artists.
I see. Okay. Back a little bit to the Dreamville tour and the music in which I actually heard, because I saw some of the footage and stuff the other night, and a lot of it, in my opinion, was really negative in regards to the lyrics or whatnot. When you get artists who come to you that have projects like that, being that your background is primarily old school, like Charlie Wilson and stuff like that, very classy stuff. How do you deal with this new attitude today in regards to records that have, nigga this and nigga that? And how do you deal with that?
Well, first of all, we don't take those records. We tell them that they have to clean them up. We tell them that you got to do clean versions. That's first and foremost. I do a lot of hip hop. I do a tremendous amount of hip hop. I've been working on several projects, hip hop projects that are doing well out there. Of course, going back to Cardi B, I was working with Cardi all the way up to her Big Deal. Mm-hmm. And I knew that she was going to be a star. I knew that. Mm-hmm. And I shared that with many executives before she became who she is. Worked with Cardi early on. Currently, I'm working with this new young lady, Ice Spice. I don't know if you've heard of her. Mm-hmm. She's a new sensation out there. This is her second or third single that's up and running. I'm working with Doechii. She has a hot single out there. Also working with Babyface Ray. He has a single out there called Spend It, which is a very hot single, hip hop single. So I do have my hand entrenched into the hip hop world in terms of these radio records. Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Okay. And my feelings about it, as long as it's clean, as long as they bring a clean record to me that can go to radio, then that's what we do. Now, what's online, you get the opportunity to buy an explicit version or you get the opportunity to buy a clean version. It's just up to what you want. And I think that's something that's needed. It's just like, you can watch a X-rated movie or you can watch a GP movie. That's your choice.
Right, right.
And as we know, explicit lyrics are not just from today. Explicit lyrics go all the way back to the 40s and 30s.
Okay, okay.
There were artists singing, making songs that were extremely explicit back in the 30s and 40s. I don't know if you've done any research on that, but there was quite a few.
Right, right. Well, that's interesting because, like I said again, today, I used to be an avid listener and stuff when it came to 97.5, but yeah, a lot of the stuff now, man, it's like it's a whole different world or whatnot. And I think that, I'm 54, so a lot of people in my age range, are like, I gotta find Fox here, I gotta find something else, to kind of get away from that. That's okay, I guess what today's young people's music or whatnot, but I've just like I said, I guess I've just grown beyond that.
Understood.
Hmm.
Understood. There were a lot of artists that were doing music that was explicit back in the day. I mean, there was a female out there, black. Her name was Leah Rich. She goes back to the mid 30s and 40s. She sang songs about little hot dog. You know,
Hmm.
um, needed a little sugar in her bowel.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, so 1 Hour Mama. There was Ida Cox. These are artists that sang explicit lyrics back in the 30s and 40s. So it's not something that we look at. We look at it today because back during that time, of course, radio didn't support it. Radio did not play that type of music
Right, right, right.
back during that time
Hmm.
on the radio. It wasn't something that was commercialized, but it was out there. And those artists went and did shows. They did lots of shows, and that's
Right.
how they made their money. Their music became popular, but it became published. It was published and just probably was more on an underground radio station,
Hmm.
late night radio station, you know. But there were several artists that sang about, explicitness.
I see.
So this is not something that the only thing that has evolved with it is that radio now has adapted it and these young artists have just basically taken that to another level.
Yeah.
If you
Absolutely.
understand what I'm saying.
Right.
You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
the millennials are in your face. Their
Hmm.
personalities are in your face. The young kids, these 20-year-olds, these 18, these 15-year-olds, they talk to their parents in a way that we wouldn't have accepted or our parents wouldn't have accepted us doing that.
That's right.
The
Absolutely.
way some of the children today talk to their parents.
Hmm.
So you look at how things have evolved, 360. Things have totally evolved in such a way now that the explicit, like you said, you listen to radio station K97, it's a hip hop station.
Hmm.
You listen to it, you say that you can't really take the music because it's too explicit or the things they're talking about has no realm of it's not in your vocabulary what they're talking about. So, but the kids know every word. They're totally into it.
Yeah.
So, and they basically support it. So, what you have is now in this day and time, this age, it's more in your face. And radio stations, in order to keep that audience that radio caters to on the hip hop stations, they're going to play it because the powers to be at the record companies are going to put it out. It's such a two-sided conversation
Yeah.
when you look at it. But I always say I understand it because I'm out here in this world of marketing music and choosing music to put out. So I view it totally different. I
Right.
also
I see.
say that
Hmm.
the music that the urban hip hop stations play is not the same as their top 40 stations.
Right. Hmm.
or the artists that are putting music out on the R&B side or the hip hop side, they make other songs for top 40,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not of the same content.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Like you hear a Chris Brown record, on a K97,
Right.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
and he's talking about drunk text,
Mm-hmm.
or he's talking about something more explicit, singing about that. Well, he's on a pop station with a record that is, you know, lily white, lily clean. It's just, it's a pop sounding song, and it's clean.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to look at that breakdown as well.
I see.
When you start saying, okay, why is the music at K97 so raunchy or so negative?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the powers to be control that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
From the top, from the labels to the powers to be at the radio station.
Right. I see. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you mentioned we started earlier talking about technology, how technology actually has changed and made this entire business change. How has that affected, or, I guess you could say enhanced what you do?
It has enhanced it in the sense that you get a much wider broadband, meaning you're going to get a further reach
Mm-hmm.
than just the local radio station.
Right.
Your record can be playing at all the radio stations across the country, but when it's on those DSPs, now it's going global.
Mm-hmm.
So that technology has definitely, made a greater bandwidth.
I see. I see. Okay. As far as business practices for the future, beyond your skills and your ability to help an artist, market and promote their project, what are some of the other areas of this entertainment thing are you involved in?
I'm currently producing a syndicated radio show and managing a personality, Jeff Fox. Jeff Fox is a legendary radio personality from New York. He's on BLS on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. He was a great morning show host long before The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club actually replaced him in New York. He's also on Soul Town every day, 3 to 7, Sirius XM. He does if you ever listen to Soul Town, he's got that's like the Black Music History Channel, basically, because he plays music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Cool. Okay.
So we have a syndicated radio show that's on Afternoon Drive, competing with D.L. Hughley. We're in 15 markets across the country. And the show is basically, it's all entertainment. I produce the show. I'm the content director for the show. And and the show is made up of, since I'm working all of these artists that I work with, we basically shoot the artists to his show. He interviews all the artists that we work with, all the R&B artists, hip hop artists. He interviews them.
Wow. Very good. Very good. Okay.
So that's another leg of my business and what I'm doing to continue to cultivate the culture and keep the legacy going. Because at this stage for me, it's really legacy now. I've worked with so many artists, and I'm still working for so many artists. But now let me venture off into the world that I actually started in, which is radio.
Mm-hmm.
So being one of the producers of that show is very exhilarating to me. I love it because I also get my artists on the show, and artists that I'm working with, or artists that I'm about to work with, or records that we're releasing, new releases on artists. They go on his show right away and talk about their new project and talk about what they're doing, and get the music played.
I see. Okay.
So we're in 15 markets, and the show's doing really well. It's growing, and that goal would be the goal there for us is, of course, to move more into the mainframe of bigger markets, bigger stations, and more stations.
I see. Okay.
Because I see radio is going more syndicated over time.
I see. I got you. Okay. Very good. Okay. So your advice to up and coming, youth, up and coming companies that are looking to get into this entertainment thing, that need that, like you said, that basically distribution, that channel into, like I said, this, entire entertainment engine. What's your advice to them?
My advice to them would be to follow your gut, facilitate your dream. Don't quit. Don't give up on it. But surround yourself with the right people. Try to connect with the right people. Do your research. Do your homework. And most importantly, build relationships. That's the most important thing. Build relationships. Go to conventions, conferences. Stay online. Follow people that are what you do. Follow people of your liking, things that you're doing. Those are people follow. Follow those people. Follow executives. Get some books. Read some books about executives. Read their journey, not just the music industry. People, great people, as we say, steel sharpens steel. Read autobiographies of people that have been successful. Read about their journey so that you don't just stay in that one sector mentally, because business is business. I see a lot of people come up to me, lots of people, lots of young kids come to me with, you still have these kids out there making CDs. And I suggest independent artists still make CDs. But don't give someone a CD with a magic marker written on it. Give them a professional CD. Mm-hmm. That's important. And make up a package. Make a package that is going to be appealing, because you're competing. When you decide that you're going to create a company or you're going to put out music, you are competing against the big companies, the big artists. You're competing against them. So if you want to compete, then what do they say? If you go into the league, you go into the NBA, you go into NFL, you want to compete, well, then that means you got to work hard.
Right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So it's the same philosophy with the record business, whether it's whatever business, the insurance business, if it's the real estate business. You are competing against the next person that could be at the top of the food chain. You're competing against them. So don't sell yourself short by saying, I'm just getting started. Well, if you're going to get started, then start in a space where you're going to look like you've already started.
Right. I see. Okay, cool. Your contact information for those who want to hire you for your services.
My Instagram is SavageMan210. That's where they can get me on my Instagram, and they can get me on Facebook at AJ Savage. But my Instagram is always the best place to get me.
We really do appreciate our guests who participated in this episode, and we hope you learned something that will bless your day and your life. For all who are interested in learning more about the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, please visit www.amazon.com and order my book, The Gary Clement Radio Show, When Strong Afro-American Men and Women Stand Up. It covers everything about us and features a variety of Afro-American personalities who speak out about the importance of education and literacy in the Black community. Well, we thank you for tuning into our podcast. Please send us your email address so we can contact you when we have new releases and new episodes and new projects as well. You can reach us at gccpresents@yahoo.com. And also, if you're interested in submitting any materials or want to get in touch with us, please do so by simply sending an email to gccpresents@yahoo.com. That's G as in Gary, C as in Charlie, presents@yahoo.com. So until next time, do take care. And this is a G2 Network Media production.